All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going over this 10-part series on the MVC3 MusicStore, which I'm upgrading to MVC5. We have now finished the first 5 parts, so we did our overview and created the project, controllers, views and view models, and data access, and with a little work, we did the edit forms and templating. The next lesson, number 6, is very short. All right, it literally on this handout that I have, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages, and on those 5 pages, 2 of the 5 are pretty much just pictures, and 1 page is almost all code. So, what we're going to cover in this particular lesson is using data annotations for model validation. Hopefully, you remember from in class, we added annotations, which basically is the equivalent, of putting in validators, okay? So it says we have a major issue with our create and edit forms. They're not doing any validation. We can leave required fields blank. We can put letters in the price field, and the first error we'll see is from the database. We can easily add validation to our application by adding data annotations to our model class. These allow us to describe the rules we want applied to model properties, and it takes care of enforcing them for us. Great. All right. We'll use the following data annotation attributes. Required, if a field indeed is required. Display name, which to define the text we want on form fields and validation messages. String length, to give us a maximum length for a string field. Range, to give us a minimum and maximum for a number field. Bind, list the fields to exclude or include when binding parameter or form values to model properties. Scaffold column, to allow us to add to hide things. So we are to go in, open up our model class, and add the following using statements to the top. All right, I haven't had problems with these before, so I'm going in again to our album class. So I want to go into album.cs, which is under our models, and at the top I want to add these 3 things. Using system.componentModel, using system.componentModel.data annotations, and using system.web.mvc. All right, already finished with page 1 of 5. Next, we want to update the properties field, so we're going to add our data annotations momentarily. So we want it to look like this. I'm just going to grab, I don't need the namespace, I've already got mine. I'm going to start right here and go all the way through. In fact, I've got my public class album. I'm just going to start right there. And I'm going to click copy. I'm going to paste that into here. This may have to be reformatted once I put it in, and that's just fine. So I want to come in here, and again, I'm adding my data annotations. That doesn't look real bad. So let's look at what we added. This, for lack of better words, says we do not want to show the album ID, which makes sense because we don't want the user to change it anyway. All right. For the name and the artist, for the genre here, and for the artist, rather than saying genre ID, we want it to say genre, and artist ID, we want it to say artist. Okay. If we leave the title blank, we should get an error message that says an album title is required. The maximum length we're allowing for the title for our album is 160 characters. All right. Next. Oops. We are saying that for the price can be as low as a penny, but the maximum price is $100. If we set anything lower than a penny or greater than $100, we get this error message. All right. For our URL, for our album art, we want it to say album art URL instead of being run together. We want the maximum size of that to be 1024. All All right, and I think we added that public virtual in here. All right, so we changed the genre and artist to virtual properties, which allows the entity framework to do what's called lazy loading them as necessary. In other words, they're not going to be loaded until they're needed, if they're needed. All right, so having added these, we should be able to go in and start validating. So as always, let's save all, build solution. Let's check out our error list, which is empty, which is fantastic. I'm going back to index. When that comes up, let's check the error list again. It's empty. Go back to index. I'm going to attempt to add an album, and I'm going to attempt to make some mistakes in it on purpose. All right, so I'm going to view this in the browser. I'm already up to page 3 of 5. I don't have real much left in here. When this comes up and I click the Create New, all right, so I'm going to click Create New. I'm going to immediately try to break this by clicking Create. The genre field is required, the artist field is required, the album field is required, the price field is required. Good. Okay. So let's pick a genre. Let's do something different. So I'll pick disco. The artist, let's say, oh, I don't know. Donna Summer was in here, I thought. Yeah, she was kind of big in the disco era. Title, well, what did we say for title? We said that a title was not only required, but it could only be up to 160 characters. So, although this is silly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 160 characters, but I'm going to add a few more. All right, I'm going to click Create. The field must be a maximum length of 160. Great. So that works. So let's put down Disco Lives. All right, the price field right now it says it's required. Let's see if we make it -8. Price must be between a penny and $100. So let's try to make it $100.01 and see if that message stays. All right, and it does. So let's make that, I don't know, $10.99. All right, we'll leave the album art URL empty. That's not a required field. So let's click Create and see if it put our record in for us. All right, there it is. We can edit that record, and I can change it to Disco Lives again. I can add an album art URL. I can change the price. All right, and I can click Save, and let's see if it looks like 17, Disco Lives again. We go to details, we get all of our details. Boy, this is looking good. All right, we can again edit if we want to. I don't want to, so I'm going to click Save. Go back to my list. I don't particularly want that album there anymore, so I'm going to go down to the bottom here, and I'm going to delete it. And it says, are you sure you want to delete it? Yes, I am. I click Delete. I go back, and it should be gone. That's everything. So I broke the validation rules. I entered a title that was too long and saw that that worked. I entered a price of negative and saw that worked. I entered one over $100 and saw that that worked. I'm not going to check the URL to make sure that it's so if I put in a value of over 1,024 characters, to me that's a little bit ludicrous to do that. All right, so let's take a look. Let's stop the run here. And let's go back to our handout here. We just done that, so I'm getting down toward the bottom here. And now that I think of it, I made a big mistake. I forgot, in the last tape, I forgot to do my save. So I'm going to have to save 5 and 6 together. I apologize for that. Okay, that's fine. We'll do it. All right. So it says server-side validation is very important from an application perspective because users can circumvent the client-side validation. However, web page forms which only implement client-side validation exhibit 3 significant problems. So if you only validate on the client, these are the problems that you come up with. First, the user has to wait for the form to be posted and validated on the server. And if it's wrong, then it gets sent back. All right, which means that you're wasting server resources, which is number 3. All right, and number 2 is you don't get immediate feedback. Fortunately, it says there, ASP.NET MVC3 scaffold templates have client-side validation built in. So they're telling us to run this one last time, which I'll do gladly. So I want to run this again just to show how this validation will kick in. So when this comes up, I am going to come in and I'm going to add a new record. I'm going to put a value into the title, so create new. All right, we'll immediately so we've got something, rock, I don't know, Alanis Morissette. So for title, I'm going to put an A in there and then remove it and move off. And then put a 0 in here. It says that this should kick in immediately. It did not, but you do know that if I do this, I get the price message. Let's just go back to the list and not go on. Okay? That is it for part 6. So there's 2 more things I want to do here. First, I want to go back to part 5 and I want to add my comments that I'm going to put in because I want to go back here. Let's stop the run. I want to go back to Team Explorer and I want to put in my Chapter 5 and Chapter 6 comments. So it changes here, and there have been quite a few. So let me go in as I've been doing, and I'll just do it right here. All right, I'll make this nice and big so you can see it as I'm doing it here. So number 1, so this was for lesson 5. And then I'm going to come down and also do my stuff down here for lesson 6. All right. So for lesson 5, the first thing we did was we added the store manager controller. Second, try to do this fairly quickly. Well, it says modify the scaffolded view, but we added the controller. We added the index.cs HTML, the create.cs HTML, the delete.cs HTML, the edit.cs HTML. So we did index. Well, let's put the index last. Let's put these in alphabetic order. So we did create, we did delete, details, edit, and index.cshtml. So we added those, all right? We modified the index view. This is probably going to look a little funky when I put it in because I'm using a different editor here, but you know what? I don't care. All right. All right. We looked at the store manager controller in detail. Next, we added the store manager controller index and details methods. We learned how to pass info to a view via ViewBag. So we looked at ViewBag once again. We learned how to use HTML helpers. How about how to use the HTML drop-down list helper. We handled the posted and we'll call it getted form values. We utilized model binding with reading form values. Sorry, it's taking a little longer. I should have prepared this ahead of time and did not. We tested create, edit, and delete for form values. I'm really simplifying that by saying that because that's quite a few pages that we used to handle that. And finally, think this is it, but we'll find out. We learn how to use the HTML truncate helper. Oops. Okay. And that appears to be everything. So that was it for, lesson 5. Lesson 6, we hit enter a few times here. So for lesson 6, we added data annotations, in other words, validation, to the album form. We learned about the required display name, string length, range, bind, and scaffold column. Data annotations. We updated the album form to use the, which ones did we use? We used scaffold column. We used display name. There it is. We used required. We used string. We used range. It was string length, not string. So string length. And range data annotations. That pretty much is it. So that'll finish that up. Control A, Control C to copy. No, don't want to do all that. Let's get rid of that. Now Control A, Control C to, try it again. Control A, Control C to copy. Go back to our project here. Put in my comments. That should have added all of them. There's my lesson 5 stuff. Yes, I can pretty this a bit. There. Okay. There's my lesson 6 stuff. So I have those comments, which I will make available as always to everybody in the class. I want to click commit all, change to my number, says that it's created it. I go to actions, I go to view history, and now notice that I have my lesson 5 plus my earlier stuff. All right, so we are doing very well here. When I come back in the next lesson, what I am going to do is go over part 7. In part 7, I'm going to have to look at this because the way that membership and authorization is done differently, all right, in MVC, I think it is at least, MVC 5 versus MVC 3, which is what this is for. This is not a long lesson, just so you know. If we get done with that, We will go into the shopping cart. It'll leave us only 3. The shopping cart, the registration and checkout, and the final updates. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm hoping we get done with 5 and 6 today, which is Tuesday the 5th of December. Tomorrow, I would love it if we would get done with 7, if we can get that to work. And in an ideal world, 7 and 8, but we'll see how that goes. And then Thursday would be 9, Friday would be 10, and we'd put this thing to bed. And then next week on Monday, the 11th, I'd like to try to show you how you can upgrade this and put this actually out on the net and get to it. All right, so I'll be coming back with all that stuff very shortly, and I'll see you soon.